The first activity we took part in relation to conservation was the trail cameras. Trails cameras are important because they allow us to observe animals that are really hard to see. They allow us to know about biodiversity, about abundance, and general behaviors of animals. So those cameras are really important for the study of conservation. For example, through trail cameras, it was discovered that multiple animals suffered from a disease called leucism. It was visible as the animals had white spots on their fur or feathers, rendering them easier to spot by predators and therefore more threatened. This disease comes from the consumption of mercury that leaks in the environment for mining activities. This helped inform targeted conservation program and regulate legislation about mining projects. Another discovery made through trail cameras in El Globo was the presence of the very difficult to observe bird, Paloma pelris embridada, which was not known to live in these mountains. Thus, its range of distribution could be increased. Furthermore, the use of trail cameras is very important regarding El Globo's history. So, in the past, the reserve was a cattle grazing farm, and the family that owned it wanted to sell it and was not at all interested in keeping it for biodiversity. But the grandson, called Mauricio Serna, decided to transform it as a reserve. So in order to prove that this farm could become a reserve, they installed trail cameras a little bit everywhere on the land, and they managed to capture a spectacled bear, which is the only bear species in Latin America. And when they showed those videos to Mauricio's family that owned the farm, they changed their mind and allowed him to transform it into a natural reserve. In this sense, we can say that trail cameras helped save the reserve by demonstrating the richness of the land and its biodiversity.
Concerning our own experience with trail cameras, we did different exercises to understand how to use them. We first had a presentation with Valentina, one of our two supervisors in the field, who explained to us the use and relevance of trail cameras. We then practiced by installing the cameras around the house, while considering the different criteria we were just taught. We had to think about what we wanted to observe and which were the paths humans or other animals could cross. We left the cameras as such and recovered the images the next day. Unfortunately, we discovered that things didn't go as we planned. Flavie's cameras didn't have enough memory on the cards because it was already full, so it only took 2 short videos. And my camera kind of moved a little bit when I was installing it, which meant that the ground that I was trying to film to see the little birds was not visible anymore. So I didn't capture any birds, only humans. So we learned from our mistakes for the next time. The next day, we went to the forest to look for signs left by the animals and potential spots to leave the cameras. We found marks on the trees left by a spectacled bear's claws and different kinds of faces, including those of a puma.
Puma? Sí, señora. This is from a puma.
Oof.
Está muy sexy. Yeah, like when you work with trail cameras, this is what you look for. Like places with a lot of evidence of use of it.
A few days later, we went back to install our 2 cameras. We left the first one where we found the puma feces and also those of a bird and an unknown mammal. The second one was left beside a trail commonly used by the felines. However, we discovered that the newly changed batteries were already almost empty, and that affected the sensor of the camera. But we decided to leave the cameras in the forest anyway to try to capture images and to come back at the end of the week with new batteries and exchange them. After installing the trail cameras, an unexpected event happened. The puma came around the house and killed 2 chickens. He managed to enter the chicken coop and drag 2 of them further away at the entrance of the forest, where he ate one completely and the other partially. He left claw scratches on the chicken coop as he climbed it and others on the ground as he tried to dig under it. Paw prints were also present. We decided to leave a third trail camera near the chicken coop. This was a successful idea, as the next morning we discovered that the puma came back and we had a superb close-up video of him. It was only the third video El Globo captured of a puma, and the best one. 1 week later, after the installation of the trail cameras in the forest, Marie-Luz, the forest ranger, went to exchange the batteries and the memory card. However, we discovered that we did not capture any interesting images of any animals. The sensor was only activated by the wind moving some plants or insects.
In conclusion, trail cameras are not only useful to witness animal behavior, they're also a good way to educate the public about the local biodiversity and get help for conservation action. The trail cameras videos are often used by our global staff in their different environmental educational activities. They allow children and adults to witness firsthand animal behaviors, and they really promote environmentally friendly attitudes.